Good morning. Welcome to the Office of the Citizen. My name is Regina Askia Williams, and I'm reaching you from New York City. Okay, it's a pleasure to be with you. All right. I am supposed to be in the studio with Dr. Catch Onunuju, but as with many problems in Nigeria, people say yes and then they don't show. But the show must go on. And it is critical that we have a discussion. It's critical that we have a talk at this point because of what is going on in Nigeria. We all are aware of the SARS protest that is going on in cities around the world. The SARS protest, the protest against the brutality of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad in Nigeria. The young people in Nigeria got together and said enough. They put their foot down and said they're not taking any more brutality. As a matter of fact, they are not accepting any type of oppression from the government agencies that are not doing their jobs of protecting innocent citizens, of protecting life and property. They are not taking any more corruption. They are not taking any more, they're not being recipients of anything that is short end of the stick as far as, their welfare is concerned. They're demanding for good governance, okay? And they have sustained this protest. They have sustained this protest for the better part of 2 weeks, and it is still ongoing, okay? So today I wanted to have a talk with Dr. Catch, who is a renowned social trend analyst, to see how what he could advise these young people to do in terms of positioning themselves to ensure that the momentum that they have gained from this protest, to ensure that the goodwill and the support of the international community that they have gained following this protest is sustained and maintained. Because definitely there needs to be a phase 2. Okay, there needs to be a phase 2 to this protest. We cannot just allow everything to vanish like a candle in the wind. Okay, so I would like to hear from you also. Let us have a discussion on these issues. The young people have put on a 7-point demand. Okay, the 7-point demand has institutional reforms, cost of governance issues, constitutional reforms, educational reforms, health reforms, youth affairs reforms, and public office reforms. I mean, it's obvious that these reforms cannot take place overnight. So we are in for a sustained face-off between the young people and the government of Nigeria. Already we're hearing rumors that the military is about to be deployed, and we know what that means. That means that live ammunition will be flying. That means that people will be shot. That means we'll have a lot of casualty. What do the young people do to protect themselves? Because really, nobody wants war. Anybody who has seen war before, anybody who has seen mayhem, casualties of, brutality, or casualties of, when the army gets involved in squishing a protest, we don't want to see that. We don't want any more deaths. We don't want any more bloodshed. So what are the young people to do? All right. So from what I have read from you, all those of you who sent me write-ups, some people suggest that it is time for us to see the leaders of this protest. Mark you, this protest has been planned and executed by a group of young people with no visible leaders, okay? They have locked out or shut the door on anybody that might want to come in and steal their momentum, okay? The other day I saw a video where they shut Shawari out. They shut anybody that seems to want to come in and, try to be some kind of leader or present themselves as some kind of leader. If you ask me, I would say that is not a very wise approach, because this is the time for us to unify. This is the time for us to stand together as one. I commend the unification that is ongoing, because there is no tribes, there's no Muslim or Christian, everybody is together. What football was able to do to Nigeria, these young people have been able to do. It looks like I have Dr. Catch with us. Let us see. If not, please engage. I would like to hear from you and have this discussion with you. Okay, Dr. Catch, are you with us? All right, let's continue. So people are saying that they should be leaders, um, appointed leaders to take this protest to phase 2. All right, do you agree with that? I personally don't agree with that because immediately their leaders will find a situation of divide and rule. Okay, so leaders will be taken away somewhere and compensated and made to infiltrate and destabilize the organization that the young people have fought so hard to build. Okay, so please let me hear from you. I don't think that they should be leaders. So far, they have done a good job. But if there are no leaders, how do we sustain this momentum? How do we take it to phase 2? How do you get to establish a situation where all these demands will be met and not have a situation where the government promises and does not deliver? Okay. I would like us to talk about that. Okay. Somebody says we will contain the army. That is not a very smart thing to say because you cannot catch a bullet with your teeth. We should not even have an issue where bullets start flying. I think that the young people should be engaged and these issues sorted out. So I'm waiting to hear of a plan for phase 2 of this protest because they have carried it for 2 weeks. Businesses have come to a standstill. School has come to a standstill. What COVID was not able to do, the young people have done. Okay, they have shut the country down. So my question is, what happens from here on? Are we going to stand by and watch young people get slaughtered by, an encroaching army, or are we going to sit at the table and talk? If we're going to sit at the table and talk about these reforms, who are those people that will represent the young people of Nigeria in talking about these reforms? Okay. Adeniji Ayeniba says, we would definitely get a leader, but not any of the politicians, Showore and co inclusive. They all have a selfish agenda. Okay, so what do you do now? You will get a leader, but who are you going to choose to represent the people? I saw what's his name? Falls. Falls, he stated this agenda that is being laid out by the young people. He was very savvy with it. He knew what he was talking about. He knew the demands he was making. He would be a good representative of the people. But let's hear what you have to say, okay? Yes, ma'am, we want leaders. Let the military be deployed. That's just the last straw. Well, when I was talking to some people in Nigeria, they told me that it's kind of too late for the military to be deployed. This should have happened way earlier in the protest. But if the military is deployed now, the eyes of the international community is on Nigeria, and it will be watching out, especially if there are casualties. It will be watching out to lay on the squeeze and sanctions against Nigeria. And the government definitely would not want that. So what is the way forward? Okay. Some people are still talking about Nigeria being a highway to the grave where all the leaders chain the citizens and please, let's be serious. Okay. So, leaders will go behind as usual and get their palms greased and there'll be no results. All right, it looks like we have come to an impasse because if the young people do not know how to marshal out a plan for phase 2, Dr. Catch, we're still waiting for you. If the young people do not know how to marshal out a plan for phase 2, this protest will fizzle into thin air, and we should not allow that to happen because for once, Nigerians have been able to get the courage. The young people of Nigeria have been able to do what their PhD holding, what their Harvard scholars and Oxford scholars, all those leaders in Nigeria, what they have not been able to do, the young people have been able to do. So it is time to marshal out a phase 2, a plan B, and carry this to the next level. How do we do that? Okay. We're still waiting for Dr. Catch to come speak with us. I'm engaging you until he comes. Once they have a leader, that will be the end of the protest because they will compromise. I believe that too. But then we have to find a way to get these reforms committed to. Have you noticed how the vice president is suddenly very vocal? Okay. For those of us that supported the re-election of General Buhari, with the hope that he'll be able to contain the security situation in the country, being that he was a tried and tested general, we have been sorely disappointed because of the continuous loss of lives, especially in the southern part of Nigeria. We have been sorely disappointed by the inability of his service chiefs to be of any type of function. We have been sorely disappointed by the intractable poverty, the unemployment, and the unavailability of social amenities for the people. Still, we have been sorely disappointed by the uncapped ballooning national debt. Okay, imagine Chinese coming into the country and almost buying everything out, and a serving minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will say that he did not know a clause, a very important clause in the contract. It's embarrassing. Okay, so we have been very sorely disappointed. The hope we had was that we had a VP, a person of intellect, a very intelligent lawyer in the person of Professor Osibanjo, and that he'll be able to speak up. But unfortunately, when he got there, we saw how caged he was, how unable he was to exercise his duty as a vice president of a country. This made us very, very sad. But as it is now, it looks like he is suddenly needed to speak to the people. It looks like his services have suddenly become important. So now the government is forwarding the vice president to help speak to the young people, help show some kind of transparency in what they are doing to quell the situation or to contain the demands of the young people. I feel that it's too little, too late. Okay, the vice president should have been allowed to work, engage the people of Nigeria from way back. Using him as a decoy, using him as a red herring, or using him to try and get to the young people right now, is a disservice. Okay, and I hope that people will be able to see through this ploy, because that's what it is. It is a ploy. I commend the young people of Nigeria for their resilience, and I hope that they are able to stand firm until they are able to move this demand to a tangible part 2 of this situation. Okay? All right. Scooby Okwe is saying every state should bring out representatives from the youths and are subjected to change if there is any form of distrust. The demands should be stated and should be reached before the protesting stops. Oh, that is a very good, that's a very good comment right there, that every state should send out representatives, okay? I agree with that. That might be, a way to go about it. Every state sending out representatives, and the representatives making the 7-point demand, and agreeing to a formula where this 7-point demand that has been forwarded by the young people, agreeing to a formula where these demands will be met in their respective states. But how would you go about selecting those representatives is another question. Who in those states will be the representatives? Should the governors take on this mantle of sending out the representatives, or who would, choose the representatives from the different states? Okay. I'm still reading out your questions. Dr. Kachononoji is trying to join us now. If it works, he will be able to come in and make some comments. If it doesn't, well, we tried. But whatever happens, we're engaging each other and we're doing well. Okay, there's protests going on around the world. The young people of Nigeria have been able to capture international attention. We have protests going on in Canada, protests going on in Thailand, protests going on in America, in London, all over the world. We have protests going on. And I'm curious to know how the Nigerian government intends to bring this to, a reasonable conclusion. Now let's talk about the incursion of the army to squish the protest that's going on. Rather than send in the army, rather than try to shut down the internet, it is imperative to find ways to engage the young people. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in an impasse that will lead to violence. And a civil war is the last thing we need in Nigeria at this moment. Okay? Those of us who were exposed to the Biafran War, who suffered the consequences of that war, we know what it means. We know what war means, and nobody wants to see bloodshed. Okay, thank you for your contributions. We're still going on. I'm still reading your comments, so keep them coming in. Okay, all right. So the next thing I wanted to ask was I wanted to speak with Alhaji Kumasi. Alhaji Kumasi is an ambassador, a Nigerian ambassador, and he recently made a statement that the president should handle this with fiat. Okay, the president should not allow this to continue. His reasoning was that President Muhammad Buhari is a democratically elected president. Being that he has been democratically elected, trying to get him out of office with this unrest is like threatening the democracy of the nation of Nigeria. He has a point there because the president was duly elected, democratically elected. But what is democracy? Democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Democracy seeks to honor the voice of the people. Okay, what is the voice of the people? The voice of the people is inherent in the protest that is going on right now. The people have spoken that they are disappointed by the choice they made, in the person of the president. So it started as ENDSARS, it became End Police Brutality, it's now End Buhari, and the government is not happy about that, as as expected. So the ambassador Kumasi, I did send a message to him. I would like to speak with him on this show. He thinks that the army should be deployed to contain this situation. Many schools of thought do not agree that the army should be deployed. No, because it will only lead to loss of lives. And the young people of Nigeria do not seem to want to back down, from anything. So if the young people will not back down and you send out an army, you'll eventually lose face, because you cannot kill or murder thousands of Nigerians because they're protesting peacefully. It is their fundamental right to be able to protest and get their voices heard. Okay. So how do we support the young people? How do we become a part of this ongoing peaceful protest? Please remember peaceful protest. How do we support them? Now, before we go ahead to that, let me talk a little bit about injuries at the protest sites. Okay, I'm a clinician, so it is important to me that you know these rules. If anybody gets shot, okay, in the arm, in the leg, or wherever, the first thing you want to do is to stop the bleed. Okay, stop the bleed and get the patient to hospital immediately. All right, how do you stop the bleed? Put pressure at the wound. Okay, put pressure at the entrance point of the wound. If it's a bullet, put pressure there. When you put pressure, the blood begins to clot and it stops bleeding. A person can bleed out and die in 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, so you want to put pressure on the wound. Another thing you want to do is to tie a tourniquet on top of the entrance area of the wound. Okay, when you tie a tourniquet, it stops blood flow to the area. When it stops blood flow to the area, it contains blood loss. Okay, another thing you want to do is to raise the limb. If it was the hand, raise it above the level of the heart. Okay, so as the heart pumps, it's not losing blood through the wound. When you tie a limb, okay, it takes a certain amount of time before the limb starts to die, which is why it's important to rush a person after putting pressure and tying a tourniquet on the limb. It's important to take the person to the hospital ASAP, okay? If there is a need for first aid or first responders at these protest areas, please reach out to me and let's organize first aid or first responders at different sites as needed, because we do not want to see people lose their lives just because they are out there trying to ensure their fundamental human rights, okay? There's also avenues to provide food and water. There's avenues to provide lawyers to people who have been locked up. There's avenues to provide whatever help you can send out there, okay? Call home, ask the people who are out there protesting what help they need, all right? And supply whatever help you can supply to help keep their protests going, okay? Or help them out with the cause they are fighting, because at this point, we all need to stand together. We all need to work together to support the young people of Nigeria. It's a shame that it had to come to this. It's a shame that it took protests in Nigeria and around the world to make the government listen that enough is enough. It's a shame that it took young people to go out night after night in rain, in sun, night and day, sleeping at sites. You know what made me cry the other day? Seeing like thousands of people holding up candles, you know, conducting a candlelit vigil for the souls of those who have been lost in protests that didn't need to happen, okay? Lost to police brutality, lost to extortion, okay? Now, while we are protesting this, let us also play devil's advocate. Let us look at why these things are happening. Everything can be traced back to bad governance, okay? Bad governance. And it does not take one person to govern a nation. One person, our president, is surrounded, okay, first of all, by a kitchen cabinet. Secondly, by security chiefs, ministers, and whoever is giving him advice. Then we have the National Assembly. You mean that in all these things, nobody could see what was going on. Nobody could communicate the minds or the demands of the people. Nobody could communicate this to the office of the president, and he had to take children, you know, protesting and shouting and clamoring. And he had to take the whole world to say enough is enough before the president was finally aware. That is a crying shame. So if this is how the voice of the people is going to get to the people in government, then let us keep shouting. Let us support these children. Let us do whatever we can to get their message across, okay? So call home, ask them what they need, ask the protesters what they need, find out avenues to support, okay? It's food, the water, the medical know-how, first responders, everybody get out there. If that is what it takes to be heard, let us do it, okay? Now, when you're out there, I hear that when you hold the Nigerian flag, it is against the law. It is a treasonable charge for anybody to shoot you if you're holding up the Nigerian flag. So now go buy your flag, okay? If you have to go out there, get your flag and go out there. Represent your state, represent your country, represent your people. Stand with the young people of Nigeria. They have to be heard. And things have to be turned around in Nigeria. It's about time, okay? All right, so, oh, that was quite a tirade. I got carried away. All right, so I'm still reading your comments, all right? At about 4 o'clock, I will be back to share with you the protest that is going on in Canada. We'll have pictures. We'll talk to the people who went out there. We'll talk to the people who participated in the protest in New York. We'll talk to people who participated in protests around the world, okay? So at this point, I have to thank you for spending time with me. I'm sorry that Dr. Catch was reluctant to join us today to make comments on this very important issue. Thank you for spending your afternoon with me, and please call home and stand with the young people, support the young people in any way you can. I'll be back at 4 o'clock to share updates with you and also share how you can be a part of this movement in support of the young people of Nigeria. Thank you. Good night and God bless. Bye-bye.